effective and all that, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows.
AMS track draft is now. This is a random draw. This week is gonna be a doozy for the AMS track schedule draft. It has been selected. I have it in my hand. And now we shall reveal the track for this week.
Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the American Muscle Series. We're here for Season 9, Round 10, and there must be something in the water down at Bedrock because Mr. Freddie Weaver has called his shot for the second time this season, and we joined the cars now in qualifying at none other than Watkins Glen. My name is Randall McGrew. I'm joined in the commentary booth by Andre Dirt Grandbouche, and as always, we have Joshua Wilkie in the virtual production holler on the buttons and knobs. Andre, man, this is like a perennial staple here, the American Muscle Series, Watkins Glen, and we know we're going to have a barn burner.
Yes, we are, and I'm pretty excited for it. I think I have missed, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think I've missed the last two races that the league has had here. So this is the first time in a while that I'm getting to watch these guys make their way around my personal favorite road course. Watkins Glen recently got a bit of a refresh on this sim, looking great graphically, looking great with these cars, and I think it's going to be a good show.
Absolutely. We've seen some drivers struggling here with the exit of turn one and the exit of the toe with this new refreshed update of the track. We're going to jump on board here with Ryan Campbell. He's making his way up through the S's. This is one of the trickier parts of the track. It looks very straightforward, but if you get offline just a little bit, suddenly you're going to find yourself running out of room, especially if you are too wide in this long back straightaway, which is going to be the primary passing opportunity. Leads all the way down to the bus stop chicane. They're going to brake at about the 300 board there, clip as much of that curb as they can manage. Let that car eat up them curbs, because it can definitely run over them. And then the long sweeping right-hander of the carousel that's going to lead down to the boot section of the track. I'm going to see him use all of the track width there, move the car back over to the right for the turn down into the boot. This is a really tricky corner too, especially on tires that are semi-warm. It seems to be fine on cold tires. It seems to be fine on warm tires. But if they're in that middle state is when it really seems to reach out and grab you. And then into the toe of the boot, I've been watching a lot of drivers struggling to get the power down without a lot of oversteer. We see him having to make a very small adjustment there as he gets back to the throttle. We keep the car over to the left-hand side of the track. Another good passing opportunity as they approach the heel section just past that 200 board. They're going to get on to the binders, use as much as that curb as possible, and then use that runoff to their advantage, just like Ryan did there. And then one of the trickiest corners on the track, the transition back up onto the cup layout. It looks a little bit smoother than it used to be there, but there's still a camber change there that can really catch you out. Then a quick blast up to the penultimate corner, just a little dab of brake to get the front end pointed in the right direction. Use that exit curve, bring the car back over to the left-hand side of the track to open up that final corner. You're going to see that pit entry there on the inside. It's going to be a very tricky pit entry, and they're going to get as close to that wall as they can. Ryan will probably find a little bit more space out there on his faster laps, probably just setting a banker lap, but that's one quick lap around Watkins Glen. Right now, Kevin Parrish provisionally on the pole with a 2:04.147. Practice times were much quicker, Andre. They had that slipstream. They don't have that here in qualifying, so we're going to see a much different race, much different pace. We've lost Andre. He is dead. He's caught in the slipstream. There he is.
Discord decided that now was a good time to lag out. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. This is what Mark Martin would call the super speedway of road courses. Very, very fast track and a couple tricky portions. You mentioned getting back out into the short chute off of the boot. That is a tight corner, and it's difficult to see what's going on around that turn. And it definitely, in real life, is one of the corners you got to watch. There's always a lot of action there, but so far, look at these qualifying times. It is extremely close. We got 4 drivers within the same second bracket. 2:04.1 for Kevin Parrish, Henriquez 2:04.4, 2:04.5 for Taylor Ballant, Fabian Zweier 2:04.6, and then 2:05 flat for Neil Kemp. It is just a tight battle. A ton of drivers in that 2:05. First among the challengers in qualifying, Dehan O'Toole in that number 8. Dan Ott going to be trying to get another division win. He's racked up quite a few of those this year. And Freddie Weaver looking to just dominate once again. He's been on a streak. He has been real hot lately, and it seems he's keeping that momentum up. Top of the amateurs so far, P16 with a 2:06.1 as we see Henriquez coming to close his lap out. But I gotta ask you, Randall, what is it going to take to dethrone Freddie Weaver in that amateur class? I mean, he's been so good these last few weeks, and the next competition in his class is over 10 positions back. What's it take?
Well, it takes a meme start here, which we often get at Watkins Glen. We've been good at avoiding those so far in the American Muscle Series whenever we visited this track, but it's iRacing. It can happen at any time. That Watkins Glen start, notorious for some of the craziest incidents, especially going up through the S's. So that could be what shakes out this race for the amateur division, maybe evens it out a little bit. Also, the slipstream here plays such a big effect. So you could have a driver kind of draft their way up, maybe make a good call on the pit strategy and gain some spots, and suddenly they're in competition for a division win. Speaking of the divisions, though, let's get a quick look at those points while the drivers set their final lap times in the Pro Division. Things are looking pretty tight. There's still a lot up for grabs in the Pro Division. So far, though, Luis Enriquez has regained the points lead over Kevin Parrish by an singular point. He leads Kevin Parrish by 1 point. Luke Sudengay is in third place with 314 points, trying to close that gap up, but he's going to have a lot of work to do and not much time left to do it. Just 3 races to get that gap closed. And then we're going to jump over to the Challenger division, where we're going to see that leading the way over there is Dan Ott with 343 points in a comfortable margin ahead of Mark Cohn, who's sitting on 315, who's got Matt Thompson right there on his rear bumper with 314 points. Ryan Campbell knocking on the door, wants to try to get up onto that podium. And then jumping over to that amateur division, where I'm sure we're going to see that Freddie Weaver is leading the way with a 44-point margin over Kevin Berg. Joe Sacchetti sitting in third place. Not far off the podium, though, John Casey and Scott Brooks both on 236. So keep an eye on those red number plates. There's still a lot of positions you can gain in that division. But we have just a few minutes left in qualifying. Most of the drivers have set their 3 lap times, and we have on the provisionally still on the pole is Kevin Parrish with a 204.147. I said it earlier, I don't qualifying is important here, but it's not super important. How aggressive can you be at a track like Watkins Glen with as much slipstream as you get?
You can be as aggressive as you want to be. The question is, how is the rest of the field going to feel about it? You can definitely force them into some uncomfortable situations. I know going into the bus stop especially, it's a huge run-up, and what you'll often see is somebody gets in the slipstream, they pull out a line, and they really force them to go in there 2-3 wide even, and it can get you positions, but it can also really disgruntle the rest of the field. So you kind of got to pick your battles, as it were, and kind of pay attention to what's going on around you. But same thing with that front stretch, all the way down into that downhill right-hander, 90-degree, little bit of banking, so you can actually carry a little bit more speed than you'd expect through that corner. And they're going to try to be jostling for positions. You talked about those meme starts there in turn 1. There's a reason for that, because this track feels incredibly wide. It feels incredibly inviting. These drivers get brave. They get aggressive. Doesn't always work out, but there it is, 10 minutes on the clock as the drivers vanish from existence. They are going to get taken to the ether, so they may line up, and we'll take a look at our final qualifying results.
Absolutely, we will. Sitting on the pole position, leading the way down to turn 1 is going to be Kevin Parrish, and then starting alongside him will be Taylor Ballant, who is less than 1/10 of a second off of that qualifying time. Luis Enriquez will start in third. Fabian Zweyer is going to line up fourth. Luke Sudengay in fifth. David Moore in sixth. Jeff Schnackle going to roll off in the 7th position. And in 8th position, Evan Hubchak on the Challenger Division pole in 9th place overall start is going to be Dahan O'Toole. Starting next to him, rounding out the top 10, Jay Bast.
Outside of the top 10, Andrew Bailing had a few interesting moments last week. See if he can recover for a good finish this week. P12, Kevin Buckles. Neil Kemp going to be P13. Mark Cohn, the Watchman, P14. Daniel Gabaldon going to be 15th. Brendan Brush, 16th. Mark Royce going to take P17. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen Royce in a while, so good to see him in the field. Levi Powell going to be P18. 19 and 20 going to go to Chuck Labano, the Canadian top half of the field, and Ryan Campbell, P20.
Charlie Hosey going to roll off in 21st. Aaron That Face Bray rolling off in 22nd. Freddie Weaver, the first of the amateur cars, going to roll off 23rd place overall. Next to him, Jeff Andrus. Brandon Smith going to start in 25th. Jay Little in 26th. Mike Darknut Neekum is going to start in 27th position. Brandon Carl is going to start in 28th. Edgar Sanchinelli going to roll off in 29th position. Joe Sacchetti, trying to challenge Freddie Weaver for that championship, is going to roll off in 30th. Scott Brooks, 31st. Matthew Guzinda in 32nd. John Casey in 33rd. David Finch not having a good qualifying run. I think he's having some issues with a shifter, possibly, all the way back in a 34th position. 35th is going to be Tom Went. 36th is some guy who doesn't know what he's doing, it seems like. And Andy Bell is looks like he's lining up 37th. Did not set a qualifying time. Do not see him taking to the grid, and maybe Tom Went not taking to the grid either, so maybe some issues going on with Tom Went. We are about 40 seconds away from seeing that green flag in the air and seeing this herd of Mustangs go piling down into turn 1. It is gonna be a wild one. Quick last 10 seconds thought here, Andre. What do you think is going to happen in turn 1?
I think it's going to be perfectly clean. They're going to surprise us. No meme starts this week.
You heard it here first. It will be an absolute dogpile into turn 1. Thank you, Andre, for the call. We're just waiting for Barney to get that green flag waving in the air. Watch Kevin Parrish lead this giant pack of Mustangs down into turn 1. Who will have the lead as they come out of turn 1 and make their way up to the S's? You're going to have to sit and watch and find out. We're just about 3 seconds away, so any moment now you'll hear the engines rev up. You'll see some tire smoke, and hopefully everybody makes their way through turn 1 cleanly. Green flag in the air. We are underway here at Watkins Glen. Kevin Parrish looks like he got a decent launch. Fabian Zware got a good launch. He's going to try to stick his nose up there on the inside, go 3 wide, maybe thinks better. Evan's going to fall in line. Kevin Parrish is going to have to go a little bit defensive. Had Luis Henriquez all over his rear bumper as they make their way through turn 1, and they're going to have to shake themselves out here. They don't want to go too wide through the S's, particularly on cold tires, but so far looks like so good. Seeing a couple drivers dropping, a couple drivers gaining, but don't see anybody dropping really fast like a stone. But look at this gaggle of Mustangs as they make their way through the S's onto the backstretch for the first time, piling their way down towards the bus stop.
They are going to get through the bus stop, at least single file up front, but further back they may not have the luxury to Hano too. And I believe that is either Andrew Bailing or Jay Bass. I think it's Andrew Bailing that was side by side with him. And a little bit of blink in there out of one of those blue Mustangs, but able to get through the bus stop relatively clear and free. As a couple of drivers were side by side, single filed it out through the carousel down into the boot. We will have to see if they manage to keep this single file going, but I believe that is going to be Aaron Bray in that orange machine. Correct me if I'm wrong. Making a move on the outside, and the boot is very deceiving, Randall. This part of the track can be extremely, extremely tough as the downhill run gives you a little bit extra momentum. You got to rely on that banking.
Absolutely. Coming out of the toe of the boot, it always seems to induce a lot of oversteer. I think it's the uphill nature of the corner. It looks like everybody's getting through it so far. It looks like everybody's being very, very cautious, probably trying to nurse their cold tires up to temperature. I expect the turn down into the boot to become a problem on lap 3, possibly on lap 2, but we still have a lot of movement. We see Super Dave Moore on the inside of Evan Hoopchak. I can't tell if he was defending or Evan was attacking or who was on the attack there, but Dave Moore is going to retain that spot. Kevin Parrish leads the way out of the final corner, going to lead the first lap. Luis Henriquez manages to come up to second place in that opening scrum. Taylor Blant, who started in second, is now in third position. And Fabian Zware holds station there after a pretty decent launch in fourth place. So looking very tidy up front so far. I wonder how long they're going to work together and try to save fuel. This is a bit of a fuel management race, as much as people hate to see it. It definitely becomes a fuel management race. I wonder if maybe Kevin will look to try to get out of that lead at some point. We're going to jump on board here with Freddie Weaver, the man from Bedrock, going to be looking to make some moves here. Got Aaron Bray and Levi Powell both right there in his sights. He was very, very hopeful to have this track, and the wheel giveth and the wheel taketh away, and this time the wheel giveth, and Freddie Weaver got his wish granted. Here we are at Watkins Glen, just where he wanted. We're going to jump up to Evan Hoopchak, sitting in 8th position, trying to track down Dave Moore. He's got Jay Bass and Andrew Bailing, the 2 Easter egg colored cars, right there on his rear bumper that he's trying to hold off. Evan's had a pretty quiet season, Andre. We haven't really talked about him a whole lot, but he's been pretty solid in the top 10 every race.
Yeah, Evan, I talked about him a little bit last week. He was up inside the top 7, and I think even inside the top 5 for a while. And he's one of those guys. I mean, he doesn't show up and race every single race, but when he does show up, he's generally pretty competitive. And I think he's one of those guys, if he just raced every week, if he was on the sim more, I think he'd be a consistent winner. Because I know a few guys like that, you know, they do this for fun, maybe not as consistently. And you just know, like, they just got that raw talent, and Evan Hoopchalk has that, evidently. Ed Sanginelli, bit of a side-by-side battle as they work their way through the boot, trying to get that position sorted out. That's going to be for P25, and it looks like he is going to concede that as the brake lights go on. Again, that elevation change can be so deceiving. Getting back out onto the short chute. A battle here between Chuck Labano, Ryan Campbell. All these battles getting sorted out pretty quickly. These fresh tires letting these cars be pretty maneuverable on this surface thus far. But up front, it is an all-out war. Kevin Parrish still leads the way, but it is not without challenge. How many times, Randall, have we seen this top three? I mean, give me a nickel for every time it's been Parrish, Henriquez, and Ballant in some order or another, and then Zweier, Sudengay, Schnackel, these guys, it's always these guys. They are so good no matter where we go. And the fun part about this track is with that slipstream you mentioned, it's going to keep them even closer together than usual. So yeah, I think we can expect a battle all night long.
We see Kevin Parrish going defensive already, so not looking to get out of the front of the line yet, not looking to save any fuel at this point in the race. He feels he can set the pace. That might be his best route to victory so far in the race. One battle that did work itself out very quickly as well, maybe not in the right way, is we see two drivers out, Matthew Gazinda and Mike Neekum, both in the pit lane, out of the cars right now. And I think we're going to see what happened between, I think it might be between those two even. I wouldn't be shocked. You normally don't see two drivers go out that quickly and not be involved with each other. So we'll take a look and see exactly what happened here with Mike Neekum and Matthew Gazinda. We're going to see that's Neekum there on the outside, I believe. In the yes, and he just hooks the grass there. Yeah, that's that's tough. And then an innocent bystander there was Mike. I think that was Mike Neekum. Maybe that got collected. I'm not sure. One of them was Mike Neekum. One of them was collected. It was Gazinda that was
Reminds
collected.
Me a little bit as we... Yeah, he got tagged. Reminds me a little bit of Jeff Gordon in the NASCAR Cup Series. Years ago, I was in the grandstands. He wrecked in that exact same location, front end, into the Armco, and they had to red flag the race to weld that Armco back together. That's how hard he hit it. That short chute is so narrow, one of the narrowest parts of the track, and once you start to spin, it's almost impossible to really do anything. You just have to get on the binder and hope that the car stops before you hit anything, but more often than not, that Armco reaches out to grab you. So 2 cars involved, but it could have been worse. We have seen that part of the track become an absolute parking lot in various series. This one not excluded. This battle here, DeHaan 02, P11, Mark Cohn. Look at him trying to get a division win. He is reeling in Dan Ott, and he is actually putting up some really good lap times. This could be a challenger battle. And I asked, what does it take to get Freddie Weaver? What does it take to dethrone the man who's been sitting on top for several weeks in a row? Well, Joe Sacchetti has something to say about it. He is only 2 positions back now. He qualified a little bit further back in the field, but already gaining on Freddie. Only about 2 seconds separates them. So we're looking at good battles in every single division, and just a snake of cars. I can't remember exactly what Corey called it. He equated it to a snake when it's just a steady stream of cars that just never get away from each other. It's in a steady line, and that is what we are seeing. The slipstream getting these guys up close and personal. But I am noticing some of these drivers, as we see Finch making a move on the low side, seem to have different preferred lines. I mean, they're getting out of line, sticking the nose out when they don't necessarily need to, when they're not really trying to make overtakes. And I gotta wonder, is this track kind of, in a way, a little bit multi-groove with all the banking in these turns?
It can be a little bit multi-groove, but I think what we're seeing, particularly back further in the pack, is some of these drivers not as confident as the drivers up front on where the track is going and where they need to be, and maybe poking out just to get a better view of where their brake marker is going to be and when their turning point is going to be. And that's when it's causing them to fan out a little bit. We're seeing these alternate lines being run, and you're right, it almost makes it look like it's a multi-groove track, but you know it's Watkins Glen. Once you get out of the groove, it's dirty. There's lots of rubber buildup out there from the marbles running off the tires. So it's really easy to get out there into that junk and get your tires dirty, and suddenly you're holding on for dear life.
Randall, I'm a NASCAR fan, and in NASCAR, the whole track is the groove here at Watkins Glen. It's everywhere from wall to wall is the groove, so That's what I'm used to. But I do see your point.
But what we have here, what Corey would call the snake, in the F1 world, they call it a DRS train. The slipstream kind of brings everybody back together. So if you have a couple bad corners, you can still be in the fight. It's just whenever some of the bigger gaps appear, like between 7th and 8th, and between 19th and 20th, and when you start to see those insurmountable gaps start to develop. And once you get beyond like 1.5 seconds, it really seems to be a mountain that's just too steep to climb. So the name of the game is staying in contact with the leaders. And if you can't be in contact with the leaders, be in contact with the lead of your group and try to gain as much time as you can. Try to maybe make up some of that time on the pit stops. We're going to watch Edgar Santinelli go the inside here of David Finch. Goes to go through the carousel. Is he going to get the move done? He's going to be on the outside for the turn in down to the boot. It looks like Dave Finch got a really good run off the corner. Going to have that easily defended and cleared off by the time they get to the apex of that corner. Going to put Santinelli back into the clutches of Brandon Carl, who's going to have to look to the inside. He's going to have a look to the inside here. He's showing the nose to Santinelli. He's not afraid to go after the higher division driver. He's going to run a little bit wide here at the apex. Going to lose a little bit of momentum off the corner, but definitely not afraid to show his noses at Brandon Carl. Looking for an opportunity to get around Edgar Santinelli, and we got this update to this track is beautiful. I love what they've done here with this track. It looks a lot more like Watkins Glen in real life. I feel like I'm watching a real race here at Watkins Glen and not a sim as much as it used to be.
Yeah, just a wee bit there, and they're going to get back out onto the short chute as we follow along with Jeff Andrus down into the, well, in NASCAR it would be 6 and 7. With the boot, I think it's 9 and 10. And up front, Evan Hoopchak continuing to try to hold off Jay Bast, who another one of those drivers that, like Evan himself, has had a lot of quietly good runs. Although, unlike Evan, maybe not the luck on his side. Jay Bast has been involved in quite a few wrecks over the course of the season. Seems like he's always running well. He's just in the wrong place, wrong time. We'll see if he can escape that trend this week, but it'll be difficult at a borderline pack race like this. We're going to do some bump drafting. You'll see that every now and again, just bump drafting down the straightaway into the bus stop. They're going to get those things woed up, eat up every bit of the curb they can, and into the carousel. Just a steady 100 miles an hour, give or take, keeping it in fourth gear. And then they're going to make that slight flick to the left to get down to the boot. But I'll tell you, Jay Bast is looking a little impatient here, Randall, with the bump draft, looking high, looking low. This doesn't look like somebody who's content to ride around.
Absolutely not. He does look like he might be the fastest of this group. Got a little bit of speed on Evan Hoopchak, just not able to get a move done, or maybe not looking exactly to get a move done, but he is going to be set up for a good run off this corner as we watch Evan Hoopchak run a little bit wide. Is he going to look to the inside as they come down to the heel of the boot? So far, it looks like he's just going to stay in line, so maybe just trying to play the long game, maybe trying to save some fuel, try to get that nice short pit stop, try to close that gap to the drivers ahead. If this lead pack starts fighting any, this second group could really close up quickly and rejoin that battle. So I think maybe the leaders are trying to winnow out as many drivers as they can by not battling at the current moment. We got 7 cars in a breakaway here, but it's just over 2 seconds. It is kind of insurmountable to do without a little bit of help, but it is not completely impossible. We do see them bump drafting, but I think maybe if they let Jay Bast lead that train, he might be the one to pull them forward a little bit more. As for Jay's bad luck, I'm going to blame that paint job. That thing is so bright and colorful that it just induces target fixation, and whenever somebody's crashing, they just see that beautiful car coming by. We watch Mark Royce is going to be the first taker on pit entry, so the pit window is open. But I think that beautiful paint job just induces a little bit of target fixation and just draws the incident right towards Jay Bast. At least that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a pretty good call. Coming down pit road already for Mark Royce. Have to wait and see how this plays out. I think can almost maybe make it from here. It's going to be really close. Seems a little bit early to me, but he is going to be the first taker down pit road. Everybody else is going to stay out probably for the foreseeable future. We're only 13 minutes into this event. There he goes. Looks like a full service for that Mustang, and he will not even come close to going a lap down. So obviously here at Watkins Glen, it's a fast track, but it's not that fast. So he's going to be in no man's land, no draft partners, nobody to really help him with which isn't something you really usually think about at a road course. Ed Sanginelli in that 180. This is a driver who's been side by side quite a bit today, making moves. He's up 2 on the grid, but that driver ahead of him in that purple and green Mustang, David Finch, he's up 8 from where he began. So he's definitely on the move. Everybody else maybe just a little bit stagnant or even going in the wrong direction, but we have seen some overtaking, and it's been kind of fun to watch how these guys navigate.
Andrew's going to go for a ride.
Oh, that was a big ride. That rear end really stepped out on him, and that's what you were talking about, Randall. You said that little bit of oversteer with that elevation change, and he just barely caught it, but I can't believe that's the first time we've seen it tonight, to be honest.
And he's not going to go down easily. He's going to really make Brandon Carl go for that drive on the outside through the through the heel of the boot and try to close that off. He really fought back against Brandon Carl there. And those tires are going to be nice and angry for a lap or two after that big slide. As you see, Jay Bassett bump drafted with Evan Hubchak down the front straightaway, trying to close this gap up. That gap's gotten bigger very, very quickly. So something happened with the second group of cars to make them all check up, and they lost about a second of time over the course of a lap and a half. So big checkup out of that second group. They need to get it together here, figure out who's fastest, let that person in front if they're going to have any hopes of closing this gap up. I do want to remind everybody, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That way you know every single time Slow Motion Broadcasting goes live with more racing action like the American Muscle Series. We have it here all week long for you, watching these cars make their way through the bus stop. They are absolutely hanging it out. Jay Bass in particular looks like he's a pretty free setup on that car. He's able to get that car to pivot really easily. Jump back to the lead. Kevin Parrish continues to lead the way. He's been in front the entire race. Luis Enriquez, Taylor Ballant, Fabian Zweyer, Luke Sudengate, Jeff Schnackle, Dave Moore. This lead breakaway has pretty much been in this order since they sorted themselves off after the start. And you can see the positions there on the leaderboard, how many people have gained, how many people have lost. Not a whole lot of movement like we normally see. The only one big mover that we see is Mark Royce. So that's because he pit early. He was stopped for 20.3 seconds, so not a very quick pit stop out of Mark Royce either. We expect to see them stop for maybe 12 seconds, 12 to 14 seconds would be typical. So we'll see how long the rest of the drivers manage to get their pit stop, how long they stay stationary in their pit stop. We're going to look back from Andrew Bailing back to Dehan O'Toole, who's got Mark Cohn and Kevin Buchholz back there trying to duke it out for positions. Maybe they're getting a little impatient in the second group, thinking we're sick of running in line and watching the leaders run away. Let's get something going here, boys. We jump back to the leaders. Kevin Parrish leading them down into turn one. Once again, I am absolutely shocked that the leaders have been this tame in this race. Normally we do see them jockeying for position a little bit. Normally see the leader try to get out of the lead and not try to lead the way so that they can save some fuel in the slipstream. This is going to give all the drivers behind Kevin Parrish a pretty big advantage by just being in the slipstream, even if they don't do any lifting and coasting. Just being in the slipstream is going to give them an advantage on fuel consumption that Kevin's not going to have the benefit of. He's just punching a big old Mustang-shaped hole in that air in front of everybody, and it's going to make them just go a little bit faster, use a little bit less fuel, a little bit less aero resistance. Watch the second group now making their way through. Andrew Bailing taking a lot of that entry curb there. We saw the car basically leap into the bus stop. I couldn't tell if all four wheels came off the ground, but it definitely bottomed out at some point going across that entry curb. Watching the rest, some of the mid-pack and back towards the back of the pack make their way through the bus stop. Now we got some gaps forming on the track, but up front still very tight. Two groups leading the way up front. It's almost like a bike race at this point, where we see a breakaway group, a peloton, and then some stragglers here at the back in groups of 4 and 5. Right now, Evan Hubchak leading the way in the second group. Andrew Bailing looking to make some moves here maybe. Jay Bass has fallen off the rear bumper just a little bit of Evan Hubchak. So they're trying to sort it out. It looks like maybe Jay's faster in a few spots where Evan's a little bit slower, and then Evan's faster in other spots, and this is why Jay's not really able to get a good look for a move. Dan Otten is going to go defensive there against Kevin Buchholz. Kevin showed his nose very early as they made their way up to the escape from the boot, and Dan went very defensive immediately in reaction to that. So now nobody's willing to give, and everybody's trying to take. So we see in that second group a little bit of slicing and dicing going on, but not a lot of changes of position. We got another driver making their way into pit lane. That's the number 99 of Neil Kemp. He's going to be coming in by himself as well. That's also going to put him on an island. So we're going to have two drivers on an island out here. And actually, Edgar Sanchinelli came into the pits as well. We missed that. He was stopped for 15 seconds. Aaron Bray is also going to join Neil on the pit lane. So we have two drivers in the pits right now. Pit lane is going to start to get a little bit busier, I think. But right now, just a couple drivers. As now we're seeing, who's this? Jay Little on pit lane. And I saw one more ahead of him. Was that... Nope, it was not one more ahead of him. So we have three drivers on a pit lane. And Andre, I think we're back. Are you back, Andre?
I hope I am. I don't know. The Spectrum has decided that now, of all times, when it's been working all day, has been, now is when it wants to mess up. But, yeah, pit road getting busy. We're at the halfway point of the race, so that's not really surprising. Overcast rolling in as well, so the track temp probably changing just a little bit as these guys cycle through, get their car serviced, and get their way back out onto the track. So far, the leaders have not pit, though. Parrish, Henriquez, Ballant, Zweier, Sudengay, Schnackle. These drivers have yet to come down pit road. They're still pretty much nose to tail, and I think, usually strategy would be so important, but unless you jump somebody so much on pit road that you get away from them and you get out of drafting range, I don't think it's really going to matter. I think no matter what order they cycle out in, they're going to get that slipstream. They're going to be bumper to bumper again, and once that last lap hits, it's going to be a complete and total brawl for that win. And this lead pack has only been getting bigger. It goes all the way back to Super Dave Moore in P7. Realistically, any one of these drivers from first to seventh has a decent shot at the win. They're all running nearly identical pace. 4 seconds from David Moore back to Evan Hoopchak, but David Moore is going to be the daredevil that comes down pit road first among the leaders, and there is Hoopchak deciding to get that car serviced. He saw one white Mustang dive down there, decided to follow him. That is going to be interesting to see if he can gain.
Yeah, if he's able to get a short stop out of this, he might be able to close that gap up to Dave Moore, and they could have the slipstream partner in each other there. But Dave Moore would have to have a slow stop as well, I think, in order for that to happen. That gap was about 4 seconds whenever we see them come into pit lane. That's going to give Jay Bass the lead of this second group. Kevin Parrish is still in the lead of the first group, and I think he's really getting himself in a poor position here. I think he's going to be regretting leading this much. As much as I hate to say that you don't want to lead in a race, he's going to be finding himself stopped in that stall for a little bit longer. We did see Jay Little, as he came out of pit lane, picked up a black flag. I wonder if maybe he had a speeding on the pit exit penalty. We've not yet seen him come into the pit lane to serve that. As we got a little bit of movement here in the lead group. Luis Enriquez has shuffled back from second to fourth position, and Luke Sudengay looking a little punchy there, trying to get around Luis Enriquez. He's like, hey, you gave up a couple spots, what's one more? And we got Schnackle there lurking in the background, trying to get a move as well. We see them coming out of the carousel. It looks like Enriquez has already given up a couple spots, so it looks like maybe a rough run through the bus stop for him. Not seeing any damage on any of the cars here, so maybe just missed his mark as they're going too wide. Here we go, too wide through the bus stop. Luis Enriquez trying to make a move, maybe. Oh, a little bit of a hip check there out of Taylor Berlant is what sends him wide. And Luis is not one of those drivers to get the red mist, but if he's going to get it, that might be what does it. We'll see if he's able to calm himself down. And they're coming up to the pit stop here very soon, as we see Dan Ott going to be finally making a move here on Andrew Bailing. He's got the inside for the penultimate corner, but he's going to have the outside for the final corner. Is either of these drivers going to try to dip in the pit lane at the last moment? No, they're not. And it looks like Bailing's going to successfully defend that position. Ott's going to get a bad run off. It's going to give a good run to Kevin Buckles. We see them bumping the wall there in the background. We do have another driver, Levi Powell, taking to the pit lane. So Buckles is going to get a move done on Dan Ott. And it's that classic road course conundrum. If you go for a move and it doesn't stick, you end up losing a spot instead of getting your old spot back. Kevin Buckles up one spot, going very opportunistic there. Makes the best of a good situation for himself. A couple more drivers in pit lane. David Finch, Scott Brooks, John Casey. But we have now Dan Ott, Mark Cohn, Ryan Campbell there, a three-way race for that Challenger division when Ryan Campbell kind of out of contact with the other two. But Dan Ott, Mark Cohn right there together now for the Challenger division win. Now that Kevin Buckles has got around Dan Ott. So some movement and some development here in the Challenger division. Pit lane getting really busy, Andre.
It is getting busy, and that Challenger division is looking close. Mark Cohn has been right with Dan Ott. Dan has not been able to shake him. So that is going to be quite the battle to watch. Just outside of the top 10, Mark Cohn, Dan Ott trying to hold on to that top 10. A little bit further back from them, that's where you're going to find Brandon Brush, Ryan Campbell, Chuck Labano. Chuck started P19, and he is all the way up to P14, so he's up quite a bit from where he began the night. And a little bit further back, Freddie Weaver has held on to this advantage, actually extended the advantage over Joe Sacchetti. It's about 10 seconds now. Going to be the difference between the first and second for amateur. Beginning of this race, it really looked like Sacchetti was going to reel him in. He was only a couple seconds back, but either Freddie turned on the afterburners or Joe made a bit of a mistake. Could be both, maybe little column A, little column B. But either way, he's looking to get yet another win on the night. We do have some of the leaders now in pit lane. Kevin Parrish, Luis Henriquez, they've ducked down off the straightaway. There is Jay Bass behind him, as well as a couple cars behind. I can't quite make out those paint schemes. There's Dan Ott, Mark Cohn, the two battling for the Challenger division. They're going to be coming in at the same time. And then there's the amateur right behind them. There is Freddie Weaver. So everybody's coming down pit road. It is a party in the pits. Behind that Porsche Mustang, we'll have to see who gets the better pit stop, who cycles out front. Can Henriquez maybe get some laps led under his belt if he just beats Parrish out of pit road? Say that 3 times fast. See what they get. No jack stands going up. Old tires, and there it is. Henriquez with a burner of a stop. He's going to go way wide to get around him, and that could be the difference. As a little bit of traffic on the blend there as well, but here comes Jay Bass, everybody else. What a stop that was. We talk about it every week, but was that maybe a little bit too quick for Henriquez?
It was 1.2 seconds quicker than Kevin Parrish, and I think that comes specifically from all the leading that Kevin Parrish done. He didn't have the same opportunities to save fuel, and I think that's what got him. But he's still in contact with Luis, so it's not over for him by any stretch of the imagination. But Luis Enriquez takes over the provisional lead of the race. We'll see if it actually shakes out to that as the pit cycle goes on. That was more than 1/4 of the field on pit lane at the same time. 10 cars on pit lane that lap. We're going to see probably the rest of the cars come this time by. Kevin Buckles picked up a black flag there on pit exit for his stop. So it looks like he got too fast on the exit. He's going to have to come and serve a penalty. That's going to ruin his race. He had made a lot of movement from where he started, and that's going to throw it all away. Jay Bass might take over the lead of that second pack. We'll see. But Kevin Buckles, I don't know, looking pretty. I don't know what's going on here. Definitely not in speed, but it looks like he cut the line. Yeah. So it looks like iRacing is enforcing that pit exit line very draconically. And that was just put 2 tires over it, and that was enough. And, oh no, Tom Wint has a meatball as we got a couple more drivers making their way on the pit lane. So something happened to Tom Wint. While we see Taylor Ballant, Fabian Zweyer, Luke Sudengate, Jeff Schnackle, the rest of the leaders here on pit lane, and a few others behind them. So the rest of the cars that haven't pit making their way to pit lane this time by, we still have a couple more of the slower drivers to make their way around. As we're seeing Jeff Andrews there in the background join pit lane, and Joe Sacchetti as well. But we're going to see, keep an eye on these leaders because they're going to have Luis Enriquez, Kevin Parrish, and crew coming up on them very quickly. As here he is. Luis Enriquez making it down to turn 1. Who is going to have the lead as they come out of pit lane, and who's going to have the lead going into the S's? It's going to be Taylor Ballant with quite a remarkable lead right now. The lead will not stay there for long. Once this draft gets back together, they'll be able to close that gap up pretty quick. And it looks like Andrew Bailing has jumped over Jay Bass. Evan Hupchak has lost 2 spots by way of that early pit stop when he came in with Dave Moore. Dave Moore still looks like he's in contact. No, he's not quite in contact with the leaders anymore. So coming in just a lap or 2 early was enough to ruin his chances to keep contact with these leaders, as now that gap between Taylor Blant and Luis Enriquez is shrinking very quickly. We have a 5-car breakaway with Jeff Schnackle there on the tail end of it. Maybe has a chance to pick up that lead pack again if they start fighting, but he's really going to need them to start fighting very soon. We see this race off pit lane, and I unfortunately think I saw another black flag on the timing screen. We saw Taylor Blant here coming out of pit lane and driving off up to the S's there with the rest of the pack behind him. So that was a nice little commanding lead that he had there, but it disappeared very, very quickly. And yes, Jeff Andrus has also received a black flag, probably similar to Kevin's pit exit. They're crossing that yellow line, picking up a penalty. So right now we're looking at Taylor Blant, as we're going to see what exactly happened here with Jeff Andrus. Taylor Blant was stopped for 13.25 seconds, which is 7/10 faster than Luis Enriquez. But he was in that slipstream, so I think he's probably still in a good position. Not exactly sure, though, what happened there with Andrus to pick up that penalty. It must have been speeding, because it looked like he was out of the pit exit just fine. But Taylor Blant takes command of this race, is going to lead this lead group down. And Jeff Schnackle there is just at the edge of slipstream. If he can keep it together and click off some quality pace laps, he might be able to close that gap enough to start really reeling them in. And once they start fighting, he could be in a spot where he's going to have a lot of momentum coming up on battling cars.
Yeah, that momentum is going to be huge. And all I can really take away from that pit sequence is either Kevin Parrish has enough fuel to drive away from the track all the way home after this is over, or Taylor Blant and Luis Enriquez are going to be really clutching and trying to save some fuel. Somebody's got too much or somebody's got too little. There's no in between for a 2-second difference between Kevin Parrish and Taylor Blant. We'll have to wait and see. The slipstream, like you said, does help you save fuel, but I'm not sure it helps you save 2 full seconds. So this battle here, Jay Bast and Andrew Bailing, these two cars always confusing me. Not that they even look remotely similar. I just see bright colors, and I'm, I'm very simple-minded that way. But here they are side by side, so I don't really need to. I can say either name and technically be correct as they go down into the boot, and they are going to remain bumper to bumper. As you see up ahead of them, that is Dave Moore, who was one of the first of the leaders to come down pit road, didn't really gain anything. In fact, he actually lost a little bit. He was right there with them, and now he is 3 seconds back from Schnackle, who himself is a second back from 5th place Fabian Zweier. Behind these two, you got DeHaan O'Toole with now a 1-car buffer between himself and Mark Cohn. Mark Cohn in a bit of a battle with Ryan Campbell for P2 in his division, 13th overall, separated by only about 1/10 of a second as they work their way into this right-hander. And you can see, look at that momentum. Ryan Campbell got to the bumper. That was a great corner, and might have been just because he knew he had to drive it in that deep. He's got a hard-charging Chuck Labano right behind him, and that is not a fun sight to see when you got a Mustang that you know is going to be driving it in deep. Kind of forces you to maybe change your driving style just a little bit now into the left-hander. The left-right complex just over the curb, using a little bit of track extension. The simulator does allow for that, and again, this slipstream just keeping everybody so close. But up front, Taylor Blant still leading the way. Luis Enriquez, Kevin Parrish, Luke Sudengay P4, Fabian Zweier P5. And these 5 cars pretty much under a blanket, Randall. There has not been a single lap tonight where the leader has been able to breathe and able to take a look in the mirror and just see nothing but open road behind him. It has been competition through and through. Now they're going to fan out on this straightaway, see what they can't make work. They're getting really fanned out, not really able to decide who's going where. I think they're going to pretty much maintain the same running order, but they sure wanted to make it look exciting. And Kevin Parrish, he is impatient Parrish tonight. He is going to get right on the bumper. I think he sees that clock winding down, 8 minutes remaining. It's going to be about 4 laps. He knows it is go time, and he is going to dip off into the grass. He is really getting after it.
Absolutely he is. They are currently serving lap 16 of what's going to be a 19-lap race. They'll be coming to 3 to go this time by Kevin Parrish, using all of the track and then some, trying to track down the leader and get around Luis Enriquez at the same time. This is about the biggest gap we've seen the leader maintain for any stretch of the race, and the only time the leaders had any sort of breathing room. I don't think that's going to last very long unless Kevin Parrish continues to engage Luis Enriquez like this. It's the only chance Taylor Blant has to drive away. We see a big slide there out of Luis Enriquez coming down through the heel of the boot. That's going to really heat up the rear tires and pushing back under the pressure of Kevin Parrish one more time as they're going to be making their way through the short chute. Let's see if Luis Enriquez is able to hold this position. I think he'll be safe until they get to turn 1, but I think turn 1 might see Kevin Parrish showing up the inside of him. He's going, started to go a little bit defensive, then thought better of it, didn't want to defend open air. He's going to stay there. He got a good run off the corner, so it might be good this time by, but these guys need to get it together. Don't let Taylor run away. That gap did disappear by about 2/10 after they started working together, so they have gotten it together. There is 3 laps to go in the race. We are currently on lap 17. Just over 5 minutes left in this race, and I'd like to take a minute to shout out my friend Mike Neekum. Mike Neekum runs the D-Nut Stuff Etsy shop. Go check it out. You get some AMS swag, get some brake mods, get some accessories for your driving rig. Maybe get one of those laser etched PDFs from your iRacing career. Get it put in a laser etched slate, because they're always cool. He always provides awesome trophies here for the American Muscle Series. Long time series sponsor, D-Nut Stuff on Etsy. Go check him out. I'm going to remind you one more time. Hit that like button, hit that notification bell, hit that subscription button, hit them all, hit everything. That way you know every time Slow Motion Broadcasting goes live with more racing content, just like you're seeing here. Watkins delivering once again as the lead group is recoalesced, and look who's joined the pack. Jeff Schnackle has managed to close that gap up. He's definitely within slipstream range now, and he has just enough time to get back in contact with these leaders once they start duking it out, because it's inevitable. We're going to probably see some dress rehearsals this lap, but that white flag is going to be looming very soon as Kevin Parrish is going to look up to the inside of Luis Enriquez right on cue as they go into the heel of the boot. It looks like Luis is going to have the good enough run to be able to defend that. He will have the inside line here for the transition back onto the cup layout. They're going to fall back in the line, but we are starting to see Kevin Parrish is looking a little racy, looking pretty punchy. He's going to show the nose here again into the penultimate corner. Not classically a really great overtaking opportunity, but he's going to go for it anyway as they're going to go slide up onto that curb. Luis Enriquez is going to have the inside for the final corner here. He's going to get real loose. He's going to get a handful of it. Looks like maybe Fabian Zweyer in the background there gets in contact with the wall. He's going to shake the wheel a little bit, make sure everything's still bolted on. Luis Enriquez is going to drop down 2 spots behind. That is Luke Sudengay, who's going to fall in behind. And they got 2 laps left in this race. That gives Taylor Blant another little bit of breathing room. But here comes Kevin Parrish. He will be coming very quickly.
Yeah, he is really on the move now. I cannot believe the momentum that Sudengay has had. Kevin Parrish as well. They're going to be well within that slipstream distance. Unfortunately, Enriquez unable to hold on to his position. And the battle heating up as looks like Fabian Zweyer and Jeff Schnackle. Jeff Schnackle was a ways off the back of this field. He was about a second to the negative, and he's reeled that right back in under. Further back, more battling amongst the challenger division. That is Mark Cohn and Randall once again, if not separated from the last time we looked through the bus stop. It seems as though it has been a bit of a patience game from Chuck Labano, not getting around him yet, but Brendan Brush, he's reeled these guys in, made it a 4-player battle. He may not be so patient. Oh, buddy.
I thought Ryan Campbell was going to make some contact there with that Armco. He ran very, very wide coming out of the carousel. Manages to get it back onto the track, but I thought for sure he was going to be putting some scrapes onto that Mustang. He manages to get out of there clean, though. Going to keep trying to track down Mark Cohn as we're going to join the leaders. Now they are coming through the heel of the boot. They'll be taking the white flag this time by. And see, continuing to lead the way is Taylor Bland, but there is no gap back to Kevin Parrish. Luke Sudengay's in 3rd. Luis Enriquez 4th. Fabian Zweyer in 5th. Jeff Schnackle in 6th. Any of these 6 drivers could be coming out of the next corner first the next time they go through it. You're going to have to find out exactly who's got the fuel, who's got the chops. Taylor Blant going to lead them out onto the front straightaway for the second to last time. They're going to see that white flag in the air, and all bets are off. The gloves are going out the window. And now who will come out on top here? Kevin Parrish, Taylor Blant, or somebody else? We'll have to find out here in about a minute and a half to make their way through turn 1. Taylor going to lead them up through the S's right now. Kevin Parrish coming with a big head of steam. It didn't look like Luke Sudengate got a very good run on that first corner. He's going to have a lot of ground to make up, but Kevin Parrish has got all kinds of momentum, and he's got it at just the right time. We'll probably see Ballant stick to the right-hand side of the track here. He absolutely will. Kevin Parrish is going to push him. Is he going to pop out? Yes, he will pop out to the outside. Will he have enough momentum? No, he will not have enough momentum to get that move done going into the bus stop, but maybe he's going to try to apply the pressure here on the turn down into the boot. We will see as they make their way through the carousel for the final time. Taylor Ballant continues to lead the way. Luke Sudengate trying to close that gap up. Kevin Parrish showing his nose here, but not going for a move quite yet. They make their final time down into the boot. So far, so good for everybody, but they are using every inch of that track, really letting the ass in to hang out on these Mustangs. Ballant going to go defensive into the toe of the boot. That's going to give Kevin Parrish a good run there on the outside. He's going to be able to choke him off on the exit. Now he's going to have the outside run as they make their way down to the heel of the boot. And the outside line might actually be the preferred line here. Kevin Parrish is going to have him by a nose as they make their way down into the corner. Ballant's going to have the inside. Can Kevin Parrish keep it there on the outside? Not the first time we've seen this move out of Kevin Parrish. Another outside move on the last lap to take the lead of the race. Kevin Parrish to the lead. Luke Sudengate going to have the inside line now on Taylor Ballant, looking to get second place. And they're going to go side by side down to the penultimate corner. No, Luke Sudengate going to fall on the line. Kevin Parrish continues to lead the way here. Another amazing move out of Kevin Parrish. Going to see him into the lead of this race. They're going to come into the last corner for the final time. Kevin Parrish going to see that checkered flag there in the distance, and it's a drag race down. And who's going to win it? It looks like it's easily going to be Kevin Parrish over Ballant, Sudengate, Henriquez, Schnackle, Zweyer, David Moore, Andrew Bailey, Jay Bass, Dan Ott rounding out your top 10. Dan Ott, it looks like he's going to come home with the Challenger Division win. There he is, yes, and Evan Hoopchak and Neil Kemp behind him also crossing the line. Going to go back and look, hopefully catch Freddie Weaver coming out of the last few corners. There he is, coming through the last corner of the track there. Yabba Dabba Doo. Freddie Weaver in 20th position overall is going to come home with the Amateur Division win one more time. That's all three divisions settled there. We got the rest of the field still coming, but an exciting last lap there, Andre, and another outside move by Kevin Parrish.
Yeah, yet again, he pulls it off with an outside maneuver. Really seemed like they were going to stay side by side, getting onto the short chute, but he got such a good run on that outside. He got cleared before they ever got to that corner, which I did not expect. He was able to make a flawless move, and then he was really helped out with the fact that Luke Sudengate got side by side with Ballant as well, kind of slowed him up a little bit, because I think if that had not happened, Parrish might add a little bit more of a challenge going through the final sequence of corners. But boy, what a race. And if you are Taylor Ballant, you got to be kicking yourself. You had that race pretty much up until 3 corners remaining, and then it just all slipped away so quickly. But he's the closer. Kevin Parrish, the closer. He may not lead every single lap. He leads a lot of laps, but gosh darn it, if he is anywhere near the front towards the end of this thing, you got to look out. Here's another look at the move. No contact, and I got to give a big shout out to Ballant. It would have been really easy to slide up, door check him a little bit, say, hey, I don't know what happened. I got a little tight. But he didn't. He kept that thing pinched down on the bottom. He gave him a lot of room, raced him with a lot of respect. Really a lot of respect from both of these drivers to finish the way that they did, and you love to see it, but what a show that was.
Yeah, I really think that move was determined 2 corners before it happened. When Taylor Ballant went defensive into the toe of the boot, I think maybe Kevin duped him into that just a little bit and forced him to go defensive, and that really killed his run through that corner, gave Kevin the run, and even though he had to take the outside, he was able to pinch him off just a little bit on entry. There's plenty of room there at the apex, and he just carried that momentum on the outside. As we're watching him do some celebratory donuts here, I would be too. I don't blame him. That was another astonishing win there out of Kevin Parrish. We're going to call him Mr. Last Lap from here on out. He keeps doing this on the last lap on the outside. Like it's almost like he's doing it on command at this point. So another amazing win for Kevin Parrish. Just waiting for those final results to come in so we can get them up on screen for you to go through the final classification. But Kevin Parrish, another amazing win, another outside move on the last lap works out for him. He's got this thing down to a science, Andre.
That he does. He's got those outside moves down to a science. Kevin Parrish, P1, Taylor Blunt, Luke Sudengay, Luis Enriquez, Jeff Schnackle, Fabian Zweier, David Moore, Andrew Bailing, Jay Bask, Dehano, Toot with a challenger win again. How many is he going to get? Evan Hoopchok outside of the top 10, Neil Kemp, Ryan Campbell, Mark Cohn. He was really throwing his hat in the ring. He really looked like he was going to be a challenger for it, but fell back a little ways to P14. Chuck Labano going to be P15, Brandon Brush P16, Charlie Hosey not having the best night of all nights, P17, Levi Powell 18th. Running out the top 20 is going to be P19, Daniel Gabaldon, and Freddie Weaver taking an amateur win.
P21, David Finch. Aaron, that face Bray going to come home in 22nd position. Brandon Smith, who we talked about a few times in this race. Oh, sorry, that was the other Brandon Brush. We didn't talk about Brandon Smith at all. Had a very quiet race, finishes in 23rd. Edgar Sancinelli, we saw him engaged in a couple battles, comes home in 24th position. Brandon Carl going to roll home in 25th. Joe Cicchetti, who was looking pretty punchy there at the beginning of the race, gained a lot of spots, ends up finishing back in 26th position. Scott Brooks in 27th. John Casey in 28th spot. 29th is Jay Little. Jay Little there, the first car 1 lap down. Jeff Andrus also a lap down in 30th position. Mark Royce in 31st, 3 laps down. Kevin Buchholz 5 laps down. I think he maybe retired the car after serving that penalty. Tom Went in 33rd. Andy Bell, who apparently did start the race. He didn't look like he took to the grid. Did start the race. The Iceman cometh in 34th position. Matthew Gazinda 35th, 36th. Mike Neekum, we saw those two involved in that early incident and finishing many laps down, unfortunately. And then some guy in 37th who can't seem to figure out how to join the session the right way. We just won't even talk about that guy. But on to one of my favorite parts of the night, the interview section of the night. And I have, for the second time, Mr. Last Lap, Mr. On the Outside, Kevin Parrish with another beautiful move to take the win here on the Last Lap. Tell us about it. Tell us all about it, Kevin.
Yeah, we got to stop doing this, right? My heart rate is just, I'm growing older by the day at this point. I mean, yeah, that second half of the race was a very calculated race in the second half. I could have almost panicked when I dropped to third, but I decided to kind of play it safe, see how things played out in front of me, and get a read on the cars in front of me.
Well, at least this time it wasn't 3 wide with you on the outside. It was just a regular old 2 wide pass. Did you dupe Taylor into defending going into the toe of the boot? Because it looked like he kind of defended needlessly, and that's what really set up that run on the outside for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I duped him, but we'll call him out. I agree. I said it on my stream. I was like, "Ooh, you're too early. That's my opportunity," and I drove it in there and made it stick.
So we saw at the beginning of the broadcast, you were 1 point behind Luis. You finished 2 spots ahead of him this time, or 3 spots ahead of him this time. That's going to be a big boost for you in the points. We got 2 more races to go. What do you think your chances are for a championship here this season?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy walking away after this race. I got some of those bonus points too for the pole and fastest lap and last leg. So, yeah, feeling pretty good going into the final 2 rounds.
Well, before we let you go celebrate, Kevin, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
We're going to shout out my parents. They came into town to be some childcare for us today, so huge help, and this win's for you.
Absolutely love it when the grandparents can take the baby for a little bit. Well, congratulations once again, Kevin. 2 races to go. We'll see how this shakes out for you, bud.
Appreciate it. It's been a great season. Great broadcast.
That was your Pro Division and overall winner, Kevin Parrish. And Andre, I think you have found Mr. Dehano Toot. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I have, Mr. Ott. That was quite the performance. You were not given that one on a silver platter, though. Mark Cohn was keeping you on your feet for a little while, and then around the pit sequence, you got separated. You finally had a little bit of breathing room, but either way, it was definitely close quarters all night long with one car or another, the draft keeping everybody pretty close. How'd it feel behind the wheel?
Yeah, it was felt pretty good. Setup was nice. Yeah, it was pretty much draft lock most of the time there. It was definitely Mark keeping me honest there. Couldn't make any mistakes.
And how about the pit sequence? We saw a lot of running order get kind of jumbled up by the pit sequence. Some drivers had better stops than others in this pit road. A little bit tricky on the exit. What was your strategy with the pitting, and how did you feel your stop went?
It went pretty smooth. I think I came out in just about the exact same position, maybe just with different people. So things moved around me, but I didn't really change anything.
Understood. Well, this is pretty much locking in what is going to be a phenomenal season. I mean, the points picture just going more and more in your favor. Are you starting to get a little bit more relaxed now towards the end of the season, now that you've got this big bank of points kind of set aside?
I mean, there's always the possibility something happens, but I mean, just take it easy. But yeah, pretty excited to win here. This is actually the track and car that I got my first road racing win on 10 years ago.
Oh, wow, that's a pretty interesting piece of trivia, and just goes to show how long this car has been on iRacing as well.
Yeah.
So, winning on
I think
the
it was a
old
few years
iteration.
old at that point too, so.
Yeah, that is very true. Well, congratulations on yet another win. This one meaning maybe a little bit more. We will let you celebrate it, but before we do, any shots you'd like to make?
No, thank you guys again for doing this. I'm gonna go watch the broadcast here in a little bit and chill out for the night.
Alrighty, thank you for your time. We'll catch you next week.
Alrighty. Yep, thank you.
That was your Challenger Division winner, Dan Ott, and Yabba Dabba Doo. Another win for you, Freddie Weaver. You called your shot. You said, I really hope it's Watkins Glen, and the wheel giveth this time around once again for you. You got Watkins Glen. You got another amateur division win. It looks like you got that division pretty much wrapped up. Tell us about your race, bud.
Pretty much a race by myself for the most part. I was following Mark Royce for a while and stuff like that, and a couple other guys, and I had a bad pit stop. I missed my stall, had to back up and lost 3-4 seconds on him. Never caught him again, so.
Well, do you have any predictions for next week's track that you'd like to make? This is going to be the last of the random draws. You seem to be you could go 3 for 3 here. You got any hot picks?
All right, hot pick this week is going to be Nuremberg.
Oh, Nürburgring, okay.
That's what I feel it's going to be, so we'll see.
That could be very, very interesting.
Only because I don't want to see that track. That's why I'm picking it.
Oh, you don't want to say, okay. Nürburgring would make some people very, very happy, and some people very, very sad. I would be one of the sad ones. That is a horrible track to cover. But we will see what the wheel gives. So
I've
run out of questions for you, man. Like, you've won too much this season. I'm going to start accusing you of sandbagging if you win any more. We got 2 races left. I know you're looking forward to that oval race.
I am looking forward to the oval.
What does Freddie Weaver drive in real life?
Well, I drive a Super Duty pickup and I drive a little Kia Forte, depending on the day and how much gas I want to burn.
Absolutely. All right. Well, so a giant pickup truck or a tiny car. Forte is pretty small, right? It's like a crossover. Is that right?
No, it's a little 4-door sedan. Small, not big.
Huh. Okay. I'm thinking of the wrong car then. But Freddie Weaver, another win for you. We'll see if Nürburgring comes up for you next week. But before we let you go celebrate, anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Shout out to Frito Sport guys. They're amazing. Great group of guys. Shout out Kevin Berg. I don't know what's going on with Kevin. I'm kind of sad because I was hoping him and I could be fighting tooth and nail right now. That's what I wanted. But he has not been here.
He did show up very, very strong at the beginning of the season and then has kind of fallen off. I think maybe a bit of newcomer's luck going his way, and he's maybe rubbed that lamp a little bit too much. We'll see if he's able to hang as we get into the last 2 races, though.
Burn the tires off it, so to speak, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations once again, Freddie Weaver, and maybe we'll be talking to you again before the season's out.
Maybe if it's Nürburgring, you won't be talking to me. Thanks, guys.
Yep. See ya. That was your amateur division winner of the always entertaining Mr. Freddie Weaver. And Andre, I think that's going to about put a button on it. Another great race here from the Mustangs at Watkins Glen. Was it everything you hoped for?
Yeah, it's everything you kind of expect at Watkins Glen. A lot of slipstream, a lot of draft, but most importantly, really great battles. And Kevin Parrish putting on a great show at the end once again, doing it 2 weeks in a row. Had a lot of fun. Just wish Spectrum actually functioned as an internet provider. But other than that, good time.
Yeah, you're getting a little bit robotic here in the closing minutes of this broadcast, but we've been able to keep up with you just fine. I agree. I wish Spectrum would get their stuff together sometimes. But that's going to do it for us for our coverage here tonight. I think we have some upcoming races. Is that right, Joshua? Maybe some upcoming races. We'll see if we can get that up on a screen for you here. But always, the week is jam-packed with action here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. As you want to watch it all slide over tomorrow night, the Ferrari Road and Oval Challenge is going to be taking to Barber Motorsports Park. And also tomorrow night, SRG F3's going to be taking the Bend International. And then Saturday, we kick off with the Weekend Warriors with the Formula V's at Lime Rock Park. Then Sunday, a double header from the Weekend Warriors. First in the Formula Fords at Mount Panorama, then in the Spec Racer Fords at Sebring International. Then Sunday evening, the Cross Series League Racing is going to be taken to USA International. I'm not sure if that's the dirt or asphalt version of USA International, but one of their oval races. I'm hearing now that it's the dirt. So they are in the dirt oval segment of their league season. And then Sunday, also at Sunday evening, is, I believe this is the first race for the Liberty Bell League. It's an all-ladies league kicking off Sunday at 8:30 p.m. at Lime Rock Grand Prix. I'm not sure what cars they're driving. Maybe I can get a little bit. It's going to be MX5 Cup, so I don't want to call it the Puffball League or the Powder Puff League. The fast ladies are going to be in the MX5s at Lime Rock Park. It'll be a hoot. I am absolutely sure there's a lot of fast ladies in that league. And then next Tuesday, the last of the random draws, the last of the road races for the American Muscle Series, the penultimate race of the season. That oval race is looming. Where we're going to be, I don't know. Maybe Nürburgring. Freddie Weaver has made his call. We'll see if that happens. But next Tuesday here at 9 p.m. Eastern, same bat time, same bat channel, same bat Mustangs. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight at Watkins Glen for another exciting race in the American Muscle Series. My name's Randall McGrew. I've been joined by Andre Dirt, Grandbouche in the commentary booth, and Joshua Wilkie in the virtual production holler. Thank you so much. Have a great night, and we'll see you again real soon.